Hi guys, thanks for tuning in again today. My name is Ryan and my channel is Endless Journey. And thank you for tuning in for the next episode. Number 1 was past lives, exploring past lives. This is number 2. If you haven't seen the first one, I think you should probably watch that first. And if not, well, that's okay too. You're welcome to watch any of my videos. So here we go. I'm going to share a little bit more of my long winding story. I'm going to try to put it together in a somewhat logical way, although it's kind of a meandering sort of journey in real life. So yeah, I'm very happy to share this with you for your own benefit. Take your own notes and have your own experience. So there are many things I could be doing on this Saturday afternoon. I made a long list, but as it happens, I want to make this video most of all. So here we go. I just like making the videos. Past lives 2. In the first video, I shared with you 4 lives that I saw, experienced, and it was quite a long video. So in this video, I'm going to keep going and talk about revisiting them later. So in my first video as well, I'm going to try to speak quickly to hold your attention because there's so much I could say here, and I will also try to be concise. Okay, so here we go. The stories from the first video took place in my early 20s, and that was my first time I explored my past lives and often thought about it, but hadn't revisited it for many years. In about 2016, I would have been about 40 years old. I had like a health crisis in my life, and I had to take a whole bunch of time out to work on myself and my health and my well-being and my whole kind of sphere. So I started going to yoga at this place. I mean, I kind of always did yoga, but I started going to yoga at this place in this small town I was staying, and just doing my thing, meeting people, looking at the stuff in the store and everything. And it came up that there was a guy doing past lives there, and I kind of asked about it, and it just occurred to me that it would be good to do that. This time I was just trying to do anything and everything I could that could help me in my life on any level, really. And at that time, I did have a little extra money to play with to do these kind of interesting sort of side adventures. So sure enough, I made an appointment, and I set it all up and was very excited. I hadn't done the past lives for about 20 years. The day came, and I have 2 stories like this. It's basically sometimes when I do something kind of spiritual, something will happen just before. It's kind of like a neat little sign. It's kind of just like a little signpost. It happened twice. In the third past life experience, I'm going to mention something like this also. So I went on the day, and I went in and I was quite friendly with the girl. She was the daughter of the mother that owned the yoga place. And I'm always kind of watching movies about weird spiritual stuff. And I had recently been hearing about orbs, people taking photographs and videos, and these spherical balls of light that are not like sun flares or anything are occurring. In photos, they're still, but in videos, they're kind of floaty. And so anyways, I go in, and the girl, her name was Carolyn, said, "Oh my gosh, you got to check this out. Check out the videos from the security camera last night." And so I came around the corner, put my head over, whatever, and she showed me. And so they have 3 levels in this yoga studio. In the basement is where they do the past lives. And so in the middle of the night before, the security camera, what only comes on if there's motion, it's a motion detector video camera, came on. And there was just like balls of light, like orbs, kind of, quite a few of them actually, like not just 2 or 3, but like quite a few. And then we're just floating around, and I just thought it was so interesting. And this moment was happening just before I was going to go downstairs and do my thing. So, of course, the way my mind works, I always think everything's about me. I'm sure everybody else does this too. Like, oh, it's all about me. The orbs are visiting me. I don't know that. It was just a really cool little incident. And so anyways, that's a side story. So I went down, and it was the usual sort of experience where you meet the person and you just have a few minutes to sort of get on the same wavelength. The person who does the past life regression just essentially has a little bit of time to make you feel comfortable, and as they trust you and that kind of thing. So in this revisiting, it was not nearly, I gotta say, it was not nearly as profound as my first one. In my first one, I was much more open, and like I said, so it was much more like a lucid dream. In my second one, I wasn't quite able to get down as deep, and I kind of had a lot of resistance. I don't know if it's because of my health at the time or whatever, but I ended up having my experience, and I'll describe all of those revisiting of all the lives I saw the first time after. But I just didn't feel like I quite got it. I was a little frustrated that I couldn't relax a little more. So, and I'll explain it more, but shortly after that, I went to another place for my third visit, like maybe within a month or two. And after the experience at the yoga place, I had heard about Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was my gosh, there's so many words you could use. She did past lives. She did regressions. Basically, she was kind of like a renegade hypnosis therapist. So she was a little lady from Arkansas, and it's quite a long story. You know, you can watch these videos, but she did about 40 years of full-time, many sessions a day regressions, and she had a special way of doing them in which she took the patient, or the person, and brought them to the somnambulistic level. So this is where you go under and you aren't consciously aware of what you're saying. So Dolores believed that this was the most truthful experience you could have if you were under and you weren't even consciously aware of what you were saying or doing or accessing. So, like I say, this is a whole long story. She has a program called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, and so she set up a structure where several people around the world are trained, and you can access a database of people in your area and go and see those people for a session. So I went on, and surely enough, there was a guy maybe 15-20 minutes from my house, and I went to see him, and really excited about the Dolores Cannon style. Again, as I was saying before, in my second experience, I spoke a little bit with the man before, and then on the day that I arrived, he made a point to say to me that the night before he woke up in the middle of the night, and there was something, a spirit or ghost or something was walking in the bathroom, and he heard footsteps, and it woke him up. I know these stories are kind of crazy, but I'm just reporting what happened for me. I don't know. I don't even know the man. I find it interesting. Like I say, I love sharing my stories. I have a long list of weird things that happen all the time, and I'm just telling you what he said to me, and that was just an interesting story. So anyways, I go and it's the same thing. We kind of get warmed up to each other. He had an office upstairs. I lay down, and so surely enough, and what I'm going to tell you now are also bits from the yoga place too. So in my first video, I talked about 4 lives, okay? So I'm going to go back to them, starting with the easiest stories first, okay? Because I said that when you visit a life, there's a theme. If you believe that you live multiple lives, you kind of carry themes with you. And I think a lot of people think that it's mostly kind of like challenging themes, like things that were unresolved and stuff, but I suppose some of them could be good too. So by that I mean, so when I was an Asian woman in whatever that was, it seemed like Japan or whatever, I had that vision of children coming and hugging my legs, and I was some kind of, I don't know if I was a mother or just a caretaker or a relative or family or whatever. And my interpretation of that life is with my dogs. I have 2 Boston Terriers. I have one now. And at some point I was known as the guy with the Boston Terriers, and I had these cute little dogs. My girlfriend long ago chose this dog. I never set out to get this dog for myself, but these dogs are like so cute. We walk around town and we talk to people, and they're super friendly, and it ended up being, without really realizing or consciously kind of choosing, but I ended up with 2, I have one now, really social friendly little dogs. And it feels very much like that life there, and this is kind of ended up being a big part of my life, so it kind of parallels there. Other than that, in that life, it was just, I don't know, I took karate, jiu-jitsu, all that. I've always loved the Japanese culture, the Buddhism, the architecture, everything. I would like to go to Japan for a while someday. Just feels very familiar. Okay, so life number 2, if you recall, I was in what I believed was Holland, and I had this experience that was too much for me. It was too overwhelming, and I couldn't go into it. So in my 3rd visit, I did go deeper into that, and as the story went, indeed, I was a woman in this life, and I had been raped. And as I looked further into that story, I was married to a doctor, and he was upset because I had lost my baby. And this story all went that I was too ashamed to tell him that happened, and it ended up me losing the baby. And it was basically, the life was just an example of he didn't understand. And anyways, the life was about psychosomatic, the influence of psychosomatics on your physical health. So in this life, me, Ryan, now, I just, about 2 years ago, like I nearly died. I was so sick. I lost over 20 pounds, and I had this whole health crisis thing, and I had to learn as quickly as I could how to get really well really quick. And of course I started with food and breathing and exercise and like all the really obvious stuff, but in the end, I realized it was kind of metaphysical, psychosomatic, and it was very much like that particular life. So it felt like the exact same theme. And so when you see these themes coming back, they say, and I believe too, it's just you basically having experiences, trying to relearn, or just taking another try at an experience to learn the lesson. And this particular lesson was just that. Speak your truth, be yourself, don't let emotions get stuck in you, get them out there, deal with stuff. So it's basically kind of, like emotions and feelings and life circumstances and not dealing with them and that affecting your health. It's psychosomatic. You can type it in on Wikipedia and read about it. I think another word would be kind of metaphysical. So it's basically a mind over matter thing. So I'm happy I know that now. My health has been just so much better since I had to go through that. Okay, life number 3. If you recall the story of me being a warrior, a soldier in the King's Army, a very violent life. Really brutal, a lot to do with swords. Wow, that's a whole nother story there with the swords. So basically I felt very much in tune with what it was like to survive violence and life and death, having life and death experiences. And ironically, in this life, I was born a small guy. I'm 5'8", 142, and I'm a small man now in kind of a little bit of a tough life. I work in the trades, and it's kind of karma that I'm small now. But so what I learned from that life is having that theme carry over into this life. I've always kind of been drawn to martial arts, just sort of self-protection and different modalities of martial arts, basically. So to a certain extent it helped me, martial arts, to have confidence, but on another level it also at the same time kind of attracted more kind of the same. So for example, when you meet somebody, regardless of what you say, sometimes you can be surprised at what people want to speak to you about quickly, just on the way you're standing or moving or the expression on your face. Like, people surprisingly quickly can assess you. And basically I find that people perceive me as liking fighting or being tough or valuing that or something. So why I need to let that go is because I don't want to attract that. I don't believe in violence. I believe in non-violence, and I do believe in self-protection, but kind of like in that karate attitude where you never want to be in a fight, but you never want to lose a fight, and you just want to resolve the situation and not do anybody any more harm than need be to just resolve a moment of possible conflict. So I've been really thinking about that lately and realizing I really need to put that away and move into wherever the world is heading now. My particular little world is heading more spiritual, so I'm not in jail, I'm not living in the streets, I don't need to be prepared to have fights with people. I don't want to project that energy, so I believe I need to learn to leave that behind. So and you know what, there was one more little point I want to make about that life too. There was a character in that one where the person had a really strange face, and I found it was really unsettling. And it's funny because I have my dog Harley's taking a nap there. I don't want to wake him up, but maybe I'll just put a picture or something through this video. And Harley came to me. So I had one dog, and then he made puppies, and there was one puppy left over, and he was apparently going to get put down. He lost an eye. He had an underbite and his tongue hangs out, and nobody chose him out of the litter. And long story a little bit short, I ended up taking Harley. Harley's a great dog, really social, really friendly, really loving, really fun, really good dog. He's got such a funny face. He's like, that seems to be somehow really reminds me of my moment when I walked through the market, and you know, Harley has been a theme of like just like loving an animal. It could be a person or whatever, and he's just got such a funny face, but I just helped me to see through that for who he is. I know that sounds cheesy, but I thought that was somehow related. So in my last life of the native man in the mesas of the southwest of the United States today, I was part of a nomadic group, and they were healers, and they were creators, musicians, artists, and I felt really at home with them. I felt very passionate about that group of people and what my vocation was then. I believe this is something I relate to now, and I would like to go more and more towards that. I ended up, ironically, seeing some pictures, some images of Sedona, Arizona, and it looked very much like the landscape as I remembered in that life. And I set a goal to go there. I said, I should go there someday. That's really feels like where that past life took place. And I just, you know, sometimes I make a goal and I write it on a list, and I'm like, well, I know I want to do it. I can't maybe do it right now, this week, this year, but I'll get to it. And then I was following somebody on YouTube. There was a girl and her father, and they were making YouTube videos, and they were having an event, like a kind of a group event where you just come down to Sedona for a week. And I went there, and this is going to be my next video. My next video is going to be called Remanifesting One of My Lives in This Life. Okay? So there you go. I'm just going to summarize now. I went to my past lives. Many of the themes carried over to this. I really try to ponder them and see how they apply to me today, and if I can get the wisdom out of them and move through them and move on to new challenges, I suppose. So as always, I'm just sharing my experiences for your kind of notes so you can compare your own. And it's really interesting, the past life stuff. I don't have definitive proof, as always, but I do really feel that my consciousness has been before and will be somewhere, somehow after this life, as the white guy Ryan Murdoch in Canada. I don't know, maybe I just make all this stuff up, but maybe not too. Okay guys, so that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I got one more video on this subject, and then who knows. So I'm going to carry on with my day. It's always a pleasure to make a video for you. Be very happy to answer any questions. Okay, thank you. Endless Journey, Ryan Murdoch. Peace and love.